Good evening. Today is Thursday, July 23rd, 2026. I'd like to call this meeting of the Auburn City Council to order. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Diego.
Here.
Councilor Overstreet Wilson, I'll be here in a few minutes. She's just running a little late. Councilor Cuddy.
Here.
Councilor Calarco.
Here. Mayor
Genatino.
Here, please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silent prayer or reflection. Thank you. Please be seated. Public announcements.
Thanks, Mayor. We do have a few announcements this evening. I just want to remind everybody we're in the middle of summer rec. Big crowd down there today with the nice weather at Casey Park. But we still have 2 full weeks remaining of summer rec, and we get new registrations almost on a daily basis, so it's continuing to spread the word. But 2 weeks left, so next week and the following week, Tuesdays at Lincoln Playground, Wednesdays at Clifford Park, and Thursdays at Casey Park, 1 till 4 in the afternoon. And then just want to remind everybody the Summer Rec is a summer food program site this year with cooperation and partnership with the Central New York Food Bank. So between 1 and 3, attendees may receive a meal, and that's each Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for the next 2 weeks at Summer Rec. The Casey Park Pool news this week that there's additional days that have been added for the Casey Park schedule. So now, from now until Friday, August 7th, there is swimming from 1 till 6 each day. So expanded hours for the Casey Park Pool. And we thank the YMCA and Wegmans for their sponsorship and support and partnership with the Casey Park Pool program this summer. Free summer concert tomorrow night, Friday, July 24th, sponsored by the city and the Auburn Downtown Bid, 7 to 10 down at the State Street Event Plaza. This is one of 2 concerts being held downtown this summer as part of the summer concerts. Saturday over at the Equal Rights Heritage Center will be the Saturday Market. Kids activities and the music this week is Michael Houston with Dave Kuykendall, and that's from 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. at the New York State Equal Rights Heritage Center at 25 South Street. Mondays for the next few weeks, Monday nights down at Casey Park is Tennis Under the Lights. This begins at 7 p.m. each Monday for the next several weeks, and this is made possible in partnership with our grant from the United States Tennis Association Eastern Division. Monday night movies have been going well. The next movie is July 27th, Monday at Lincoln Playground. Zootopia 2 is the movie, sponsored next week by Chemung Canal Trust Company. Thus, we thank them for their support. Unfortunately, we had to cancel Hoops Park earlier this week, but next week's Hoops Park concert is Dead and Friends, sponsored by Tobacco Free Central New York. And got a few nights, about 4 weeks of Hoops Park left, and then we'll probably do some of the rain outs for the last couple of weeks of August. Probably reschedule Lauren and his son, who were scheduled earlier this week. And then just spreading the word for our planning department, I want to remind everybody the Smart Growth Comprehensive Plan has got a community survey out there. All this information is on the city's website at the comprehensive plan page. But we've been sending out some social media and some emails, trying to get more. The more the better for this survey. The more participation, the stronger the survey will be. And you can find the survey on the city's website, and if you need paper copies, you can contact us here at Memorial City Hall, either the mayor's office or the planning department's office. That's all I have this evening, Mayor.
Very good, thank you. Move on to the public to be heard.
At this point,
Mayor, can we wait till
Councilor Overstreet Wilson comes?
No, she's stuck in traffic. She doesn't even know if she's going to be able to make it. There's something going on between here and Geneva.
Okay.
At this point in time, we'll open the public to be heard. Portion of the council meeting, residents are asked to state their name and address for the record. Please keep remarks to 3 minutes or less, and please observe commonly accepted rules of courtesy and decorum.
Is there anyone wishing to be heard this evening? Mr. Udall.
James Udall, 106 Osborne Street. I'm back again to advocate for the tax assessment discount program for the over 65 fixed income seniors, lower income, middle income seniors, and your disabled homeowners. This is an income-driven program, unlike the disabled veteran program you're going to talk about tonight, which is not income-driven, but the program that I've been talking about for the last 7 months is income-driven. The income limits have not been updated since the year 2020. My understanding in working with the city manager is that upwards about 850 Auburn households could qualify for this program if the income limits were upgraded or improved to the state mandated levels. I've shared with all of you my personal tax bill that we just received in the mail, and I wanted to share this with you to show you the impact. I have a very low tax assessed property, $137,000. I do qualify for this program, so I've not been up here for the last 7 months advocating for something for myself. I'm disabled. I'm legally blind. I get I get this already, so I don't have to stand up here and ask the city for it. I already get it. The impact for somebody like me, though, is that if I didn't get the assessment discount, my tax bill would be $576 a year higher. The county tax bill, when it comes out next year, will mirror this, and there'll be an additional savings of another $250 or $300 off the county. So for somebody like me, living on Osborne Street, $137,000 house, it's about $900, almost $1,000 a year. And when you make a fixed income on Social Security, you can't ask for a raise. So when the gas prices go back up, like they just recently did, you can't call Donald Trump and say, "Hey, I need a raise," because inflation and the cost of groceries at Wegmans. This is real money, and it's something that needs to be addressed. I've been asking for this. I have. Councilor Diego and Councilor Overstreet Wilson have talked to me at length about this. They seem to be interested. That we need only one more vote. It seems to improve this program, to raise the income limits, to bring some tax relief to the lower income homeowners within your community. I guarantee that all of these 850 some odd households, they're all voters.
30 seconds.
99%. Vote in the city election. They're homeowners, they're over 65, they're disabled. These are people that are going to determine the next city election. 850 votes, maybe even more than that, because there might be more than one person in the household. 1,000 votes, 1,200 votes, this is going to turn a city election, and I'm not sure why this hasn't been taken up.
Time's up, sir.
So anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to be heard this evening? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Michael Colgrove. I live at 43 Morris Street. I want to speak on the New York State's 100% disabled veteran property tax exemption. There's a handout for each one of the counselors. That's Senate Bill 8803. In January 8th, 2005, bill was introduced to create a 100% property tax exemption for qualifying veterans who are permanently and totally disabled due to military services. It was passed unanimously through the state Senate in May 27 of 25. June 17th of 2025, the Assembly passed it unanimously. The bill was delivered to the governor to be signed December 8th of 25, and December 19th of 2025, the governor signed it into law. There's been some confusion among the veteran community about, does the city have to opt into this or not opt into this? But on January 8th of 2026, State Senator, and I'm probably going to butcher his name, Bobo, introduced the bill that is in front of you, 8803, and there was changes added to that under Chapter 77 is what it is. That bill passed the Assembly in January 13th of this year. January 20th, it passed the Assembly. And February 13th of this year, it was signed into law. What changed in Chapter 77 is, that was signed on February 13th, is the removal of the local option language. Instead of allowing municipalities to choose whether to offer the exemption has become mandatory statewide for qualifying veterans. So I wasn't sure if the city council or the tax assessor office was up onto this, but I represent some veterans in the community, and we're all kind of confused on it and looking for some answers, because we will have to apply for this by October 1st of 2026. And hopefully maybe somebody can reach out to me or clear something up for me. But thank you for hearing me out on this, and I look forward to an answer. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else wishing to be heard? Mr. Bishop?
Hello, my name is Andrew Bishop, and I live at 19 Bradford Street here in Auburn, New York. As always, I'm here with my sign, welcome to Auburn, don't drink the water. Now, I do, but I want you to understand I RO it, just as I'm sure many people on the other side of that brass rail may do. Okay. So, unfortunately, I was not here last week to the end, and I apologize. Although here's the thing, we're not allowed to ask questions of these people after this 3 minutes, and that's it. So when somebody comes up and starts talking about models, I'm like, well, wait a second, a model? When you do DNA testing, you don't use models. If I'm not mistaken, I think you have to actually take real, human tissue or what have you, and run it through the machine. You don't use models and say, oh, well, we think this is this. This is why every week I'm here talking about stable isotope analysis. This is just DNA testing, but of the pollutants. And it will conclusively prove 100% who the culprits are following Wasco Lake and in what ratios. It's just pure science. 30 seconds. I mean, I'm going to be honest, Mr. Mayor. I keep running into more and more people on the streets, and they all keep telling me, yeah, 2 minutes on the phone, there it is, stable isotope analysis. Yep, this is the conclusive way to prove it. But then I find out, because why? If the city does it, that's why the $3,000 check floated to the ground, and some kind gentleman from the public eventually, at the end, member, he handed it back to me. I guess they're not interested, he said, Andy. Is because why? Then the city becomes liable. They must report that by law. It'd be like knowing that you were in some public capacity and you knew somebody was molesting a child. You have to report it. It's the law. It is the law to report such things. So if you knew that it was beyond belief, the amount of human fecal matter that would be in there, you'd be required by law to report that in no uncertain terms. This is why I keep pointing out, I just need one group. Here's the check, take it. This is why I'll, now I'm assuming, because I've never heard of from
30
them.
seconds, sir.
And these people purport to be behind Owasco Lake and want to make certain it's clear and clean. That's fine, so do I. But why can't we use the one thing? We don't use models. In science, modeling is okay to a certain extent. It can give us an outline. But to not do the actual one test, that kind of like, yeah, something kind of not.
Time's up,
kosher.
Mr. Bishop.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Members of the
Have a
public,
good evening.
members of the City Council.
Mr. Furcano?
Lon Furcano, 221 Bacchus Road. Thank you for calling me by name. Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that. Did not go unnoticed. I know you probably think I'm a pain in the gluteus maximus, but I really just want to help. Because I think you're all good people, and I think you're all here for the right reasons, but all of us are smarter than some of us, right? And so when I said I could save the city $10 million without leaving this building or even using a calculator, I was serious, dead serious. Only one person asked me about it. I'd like to have that discussion. I've spent my career working side by side with municipalities, some big, some small. A lot of challenges, and they're going to get worse. Just as the gentleman pointed out, this is going to be the age of people wanting tax exemptions because they can't afford their homes anymore. In the meantime, costs are going up. This is like trying to swim in a rip current. We have to be ahead of it, and we have to know when to stay out of the water. We need structural changes, and I'll tell you why. Because the very employees that you are worried about, the very jobs that you want to preserve, are at risk without structural change. For example, what if every city employee decided to donate $40 a week back to the city in a payroll deduction? Some could maybe do a little more, but let's say $40 isn't going to kill anybody, right? We're always talking about small numbers. That would raise over $750,000 in money without spending another taxpayer dime. And you'd save jobs. And they would get a receipt for tax-deductible donation to the city. It's what I call a win-win situation, right? So this is what I'm getting at when I talk about let's think about out-of-the-box solutions. We got problems that need to be addressed, and we have to address them. The lack of addressing them in the past is why we're here today.
30
Now,
seconds.
One thing I would like to do, and this is a personal matter, and I don't mean to be argumentative, but I believe the city owes me an apology, a formal apology. At the last meeting, when they decided to jettison private ambulance service and put it into the municipality, I was called out by Mayor Quill and Jeff Dygert right here in this room and challenged because they swore this would not cost the taxpayers one penny. Now you're $10 million in the hole, or $8
Time's
million
up, sir.
in the hole. I know my time's up, and so is the city's.
Time's up. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Is there anyone else? Yes, Ms. Okaza.
My name's Pamela Cusick. I live at Chapman Avenue. I wasn't here last week, wasn't able to be here last week, but I did sit down and I watched the meeting, and there were two things that I saw that I wanted to touch on. One was that it was stated that City Hall was going to stay decorated for the Veteran Memorial motorcycle ride. And the one thing that I did notice, that beautiful flag that flew on City Hall was taken down. So I questioned why that was taken down. Because to me, that was gorgeous. And I didn't understand why that was taken down when it was stated it was going to stay up. The other thing that I noticed was that for weeks, the budget was talked about. And this is nothing against our city manager, but 32 people lost their jobs. And last week, contractual raises were given. 32 people lost their jobs and now can't feed their families, but contractual raises were given. And I just want to say, I've watched meetings, I've been here for year upon years upon years upon years, and listened to council members say yes, 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 yes. This is not about being great friends to everybody else on the council. You guys are chosen by the people to represent what we want, the people of Auburn. Not to be friends to each other, not to make each other happy, not to be yes people to each other, but to stand for us as the people of Auburn. And when I look back at the videos, and believe me, I sit down and I watch the videos of the prior meetings, I've seen, Mayor, you say no one time, I've seen you say no multiple times, and I've seen you say no once. Other than that, this council has always said yes and agreed to everything that's been put before them. And I think it's time that you all sit down and you think about if you're actually doing what the people, what's best for the
30
people of
seconds.
Auburn. Because I think it's time you guys start saying no, so that this budget makes a turnaround. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else wishing to be heard this evening? Close the public to be heard and move on to the approval of the meeting minutes from June 25th. Do we have a sponsor? Councilor Clarko, second by Councilor Diego. Any question, discussion, or changes? Please call the roll.
Counselor Diego?
Yes.
Counselor Cuddy?
Yes.
Counselor Clarko?
Aye.
Mayor Genatino?
Aye.
Carried.
City Manager's report, Ms. Higgins.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a reminder of the bid opportunities on the city's website. There are 3 there for our HVAC replacement project, our employee health benefits consulting, and sludge hauling services. Some updates on our capital projects. Lake F Bridge project signals at both Owasco and Osborne will be adjusted this week to allow better traffic movement at the intersections. We should start seeing the bridge deck being removed in the next week or 2. The 2026 road program is starting this week on Lake Avenue, prepping for milling and paving. And the Community Development Block Grant Curb Project is starting today on Curtis Place, and the road will have on-street parking restrictions. The project is expected to be finished in the next 4 weeks. Just to follow up on the council's conversation related to data centers and battery energy storage systems and concerns related to these types of developments, staff is recommending that the City Council approve 1-year moratoriums for both of these uses to allow for public input and regulations to be developed as part of the comprehensive plan process. Thank you.
Very good. Any questions for Ms. Haynes? Reports from members of council? All right. First resolution this evening, seeker resolution number 3 of 2026, determining that the improvements to the reservoir and city water system project will not have a significant adverse environmental impact. Do we have a sponsor? Councilor Cuddy, second by Councilor Diego.
State Environmental Quality Review Act Resolution Number 3 of 2026. Whereas the City of Auburn is the sponsor of a proposed project to rehabilitate the reservoir and city water system that consists of site and process improvements of the Franklin Reservoir by way of constructing up to a 1 million gallon water storage tank and replacement of a portion of pipeline within the town of Senate, as well as operational improvements to the city's lower pump station within the City of Auburn. And whereas the city intends to comply with the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act and the implementing regulations set forth as 6 NYCRR Part 617, also known as the regulations with respect to the project. And whereas the city has prepared and completed Parts 1, 2, and 3 of the full environmental assessment form for the project and compared the impacts that may reasonably be expected to result from the project to the criteria for determining significance as identified in Section 6177C1 of the regulations. And whereas the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and the New York State Department of Health and the Q County Health Department and the Town of Senate are the involved agencies, as the quoted term is defined in the regulations for the project. And whereas correspondence was sent to the aforementioned agencies on June 22nd, 2026, requesting consent to the city acting as lead agency for the review of the project and providing a copy of the environmental assessment form Part 1, and no objection has been made to the city acting as lead agency. And whereas the City Council has considered the significance of the potential environmental impacts of the project, and said review has resulted in a reasoned determination that the proposed action will not result in any large and important impacts, and therefore is one which will not have a significant negative impact on the environment. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Auburn that based upon an examination of the environmental assessment form and other available supporting information, the knowledge about the area surrounding the project and such further investigation of the project and its potential environmental impacts, the City Council makes the following findings and determinations with respect to the project. 1, the project is classified as a Type 1 action, as that term is defined in the regulations. 2, the city has completed parts 2 and 3 of the environmental assessment form and compared the impacts that may reasonably be expected to result from the project to the criteria for determining significance identified in section 617C1 of the regulations. 3, the city hereby approves and adopts the attached environmental assessment form for the project, parts 1 through 3, with its supporting written elaboration, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein, and will not require the preparation of an environmental impact statement for the project. 4, the city hereby authorizes the environmental assessment form to be signed and a negative declaration to be filed for the project and posted to the New York State DEC Environmental Notice Bulletin. 5, the city clerk and city staff are authorized to take such additional steps as may be necessary to carry out the resolution, and it will take effect immediately.
Very good, thank you. Ms. Elvick's here to answer any questions the council may have. Any discussion from the council? Please call the roll.
Councilor Diego.
Yes.
Councilor Overstreet Wilson is still not with us. Councilor Cuddy.
Yes.
Councilor Calarco.
Aye.
Mayor Genatino.
Aye.
Carried.
Bond ordinance number 3 of 2026, authorizing the issuance of $13 million in serial bonds for the City of Auburn Reservoir and Water Fund capital projects. First reading was last week. We will be voting this evening on this. Do we have a sponsor? Councilor Diego, seconded by Councilor Cuddy.
Bond ordinance number 3 of 2026, authorizing the issuance of $13,030,000 in serial bonds to finance the cost of the improvements to the city water system. Be it ordained that the Council of the City of Auburn, Cuyahoga County, New York, as follows. Section 1, the City of Auburn, Cuyahoga County, New York, is hereby authorized to undertake the acquisition, construction, or reconstruction of, or addition to the city's water supply or distribution system, including but not limited to upgrades and rehabilitation of the distribution system reservoir, associated transmission main and lower pump station, whether or not including buildings, land, or rights in land, original furnishings, equipment, machinery, or apparatus, or the replacement of such equipment, machinery, or apparatus at an estimated maximum cost of $13,030,000, and to issue an aggregate $13,030,000 in serial bonds pursuant to the provisions of the local finance law to finance the estimated costs of the aforesaid specific objects or purposes. Section 2, it is hereby determined that the maximum estimated cost of the aforesaid specific object or purpose is the $13,030,000. Said amount is hereby appropriated therefore, and the plan for the financing thereof shall consist of the issuance of the $13,030,000 in serial bonds of the city authorized to be issued pursuant to the ordinance. It is hereby determined that the period of probable usefulness of the aforesaid specific object or purpose is 40 years pursuant to subdivision 1 of section 11A of the local finance law.
Any question or discussion from the council? I know we had a presentation 2 weeks ago from GHD along with Mr. Jensen. There was extensive discussion that evening related to this project. I do have one additional question, Mr. Jensen, if you don't mind. I think it was the same week that we had the presentation, or maybe it was the following week. There was an issue with the pumps, where part of the city was without water for some time.
Right.
Will this project address that in any way?
Yes, yeah. So right now, if we lose power at the lower pump station, staff has to respond to the pump station. to get the backup generator up and running, and then flip the power over to backup generation power. That was one of the issues that was identified in the report, is not a seamless transition between power outages and continuous pumping. So, yes.
All right, very good. Any additional questions for Mr. Jensen? Yeah, I mean, it's clear that while this is an expensive project, the cost of not doing it is much more expensive with a 100-year main transmission line. So thank you for all the hard work that's gone into this.
Appreciate you guys'
Please call the roll.
support. Yeah, thank you.
Counselor Diego?
Yes.
Counselor Cuddy?
Yes.
Counselor Clarko?
Aye.
Mayor Genatino?
Aye.
Carried.
Grant Resolution Number 84 of 2026, authorizing an application for New York State Water Infrastructure Improvement Act drinking water grant funding. Do we have a sponsor? Counselor Clarko, second by Counselor Cuddy.
Grant Resolution 84 of 2026. Whereas the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation provides grants to assist municipalities in funding water quality infrastructure projects that protect or improve water quality and protect public health. And whereas the City of Auburn Department of Municipal Utilities is responsible for the collection, filtration, and distribution of drinking water in the city, has identified a need to rehabilitate the Franklin Street Reservoir and related pipeline transmission main, construct a new $1 million gallon storage tank at the reservoir, as well as upgrade the lower pump station. Whereas the City of Auburn is submitting an application to the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation Water Infrastructure Improvement Act grant program in an effort to secure 2026 New York State drinking water grant funding assistance in the amount of $5 million for a total estimated project cost of $13.03 million. Whereas the City of Auburn would finance the non-grant portion of the project through the New York State EFC Drinking Water State Revolving Loan Fund, with the goal to secure hardship or 0% financing as a New York State Department of Health qualifying disadvantaged community. And whereas the City of Auburn Water Fund does not currently have 100% of the funding needed to make these water quality capital investments, and is necessary to obtain New York State funding assistance for this important water infrastructure project. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council that one, the Director of Capital Projects and Grants is authorized to submit a WIA drinking water grant application to the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation in the amount of $5 million for a total estimated project cost of $13.03 million. Upon award notification, the City Controller is authorized to execute the grant assistance contract, submit project documentation, and otherwise act on all matters related to the project and state assistance. City finance staff is authorized to create a capital revenue and expense account, recognize grant revenue, and appropriate the funds into the correct capital project accounts. The resolution will take effect immediately.
Any questions or discussion from the council? Counselor Diego?
Yeah, just get one quick question. Some of the paperwork says we're putting a 500,000 gallon tank in, and then on the next page it says it's a 1 million gallon tank. I mean, they're obviously both covered by the price, but is it 500 to 1 million, or is it one or the other?
500 to 1 million. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
For those at home, it's 500 to 1 million, because I'm sure they couldn't hear you. Anything else? Council? All set? Just for the record, it's explained in the background memo that State of New York is offering $425 million in grants. A municipality can apply for the lesser of $5 million or 70% of the net eligible project cost, and the maximum award a municipality can receive is $5 million. So that's why we're applying for $5 million rather than the whole project. Please call the roll.
Counselor Diego?
Yes.
Counselor Cuddy?
Yes.
Counselor Clarko?
Aye.
Mayor Genatino?
Aye.
Carried.
Grant Resolution Number 85 of 2026, authorizing an application to the New York State DCJS Stop Violence Against Women Grant Program. Do we have a sponsor? Counselor Clarko, second by Counselor Diego.
Grant Resolution 85 of 2026. Whereas the City of Auburn Police Department desires to participate in the services, training officers, and prosecutors, also known as Stop Violence Against Women Formula Grant program administered by the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services. And whereas the purpose of this grant is to support communities in developing and strengthening effective law enforcement, prosecution strategies, and victim services to combat violent crimes against women. And whereas the 2026 Stop VAWA grant program funding cap for local programming is set at $75,000 with no match requirement of applicants. And whereas for the purposes of the New York State Division of Criminal Justice System funding solicitation, the City of Auburn Police Department is proposing to partner with Cayuga Counseling Services as the Rape Crisis Program Agency for Cayuga County for the maximum eligible award of $75,000 over a potential 5-year program period with a tentative start date of January 1st, 2027. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council that the Chief of Police or approved designee is hereby authorized to submit the grant application, execute all necessary contracts, agreements, and amendments with the New York State Department of Criminal Justice Services on behalf of the City of Auburn.
Questions and discussion from the council? Hearing none. Chief, do you have anything you want to add?
Like I said before, we're looking at every avenue to try to get money. Again, it's important, it's domestic violence. We're looking at intimate partner violence, sexual assault violence. It's all intertwined with this. We broke it down to equipment, overtime, and possibly assisting us pay for the victim specialists in-house right now to try to get them full-time. We're just trying to get every means possible to try to save money, so.
And we certainly recognize that and appreciate that. I do have one question. It says that Auburn Police Department will act as the program agency for Cayuga County. So will you be covering the whole county with these services?
So it's because Cayuga Counseling Services is teaming up with us, and they cover the whole county.
Okay.
So they actually were the ones that brought this forth to us and done the bulk of the work. We've pretty much gave the input of what we wanted, and Sarah Van Dorn has done the bulk of the work. So kudos to her, and thank you.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Chief. Please call the roll.
Counselor Diego.
Yes.
Counselor Cuddy.
Yes.
Counselor Clarko.
Aye.
Mayor Genatino.
Aye.
Carried.
Grant acceptance resolution number 86 of 2026, New York State Municipal Parks and Recreation Grant Funding. I'm sorry, acceptance of 2026 New York State Municipal Parks and Recreation Grant Funding. Do we have a sponsor? Councilor Clarko, second by Councilor Cuddy.
Grant Acceptance Resolution 86 of 2026, whereas New York State 2026 Municipal Parks and Recreation Grant Program through the Consolidated Funding Application established a program that supports the development, construction, and renovation of municipal parks and recreational infrastructure. And whereas the City of Auburn has applied for and was awarded the 2026 grant funding by the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation in the amount of $492,555 with matching share of $68,060 that includes in-kind services for the demolition and construction of tennis and pickleball courts at Casey Park, 150 North Division Street. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council hereby accepts grant funding from the New York State Office of Parks and Recreation and Historic Preservation 2026 Municipal Parks and Recreation Grant in the amount of $492,555. Be it further resolved that the City Comptroller is authorized to recognize NPR grant funds into revenue account HA99359MP State Aid and to appropriate the funds into the expense account HA7110225MP Parks and Capital Outlay. Be it further resolved, the Mayor is authorized to execute the grant agreement and all other documents necessary for the acceptance of the funding and otherwise act on all matters related to the 2026 grant.
Very good. Question, discussion from the council?
I think the same question you were going to ask is what I had.
Yeah, so I did have a question, Ms. Jensen, if you don't mind coming to the podium. So this is a grant that does require a local match in the amount of $68,000. Can you explain what that local match will be?
That will be DPW staff time, so it'll be in kind, and that's for the demolition of the tennis courts.
All right, very good. Any additional questions? Thank you. Please call the roll.
Counselor Diego?
Yes.
Counselor Cuddy?
Yes.
Counselor Calarco?
Aye.
Mayor Genatino?
Aye.
Carried.
Council Resolution Number 87 of 2026, declaring certain property as surplus and authorizing the donation of said property to a not-for-profit organization. Do we have a sponsor? Councilor Clarko, second by Councilor Diego.
Council Resolution 87, whereas the City of Auburn owns 3 sets of portable bleachers that are no longer needed for municipal purpose, and whereas city staff has determined that the 3 sets of bleachers have reached the end of their useful life for the city operations and are no longer required to meet the needs of the city, and whereas the City Council finds it is in the best interest of the city to declare the property surplus, and whereas Cayuga Bombers Youth Baseball Organization has requested the bleachers for use at its youth baseball facility at Veterans Park, and the City Council finds that donating the surplus property will promote recreational opportunities and provide a public benefit to the community. Now therefore be it resolved, the City Council authorizes the donation of the 3 surplus sets of bleachers to Cayuga Bombers Youth Baseball Organization. The donation shall be made as in where is basis, with no warranties or guarantees expressed or implied, and the recipient shall assume responsibility for transportation, installation, maintenance, and any liability associated with the property upon transfer.
Questions or discussion from the council? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Counselor Diego?
Yes.
Counselor Cuddy?
Yes.
Counselor Calarco?
Aye.
Mayor Genatino?
Aye. Agreement Resolution Number 88 of 2026, authorizing change order number 1 to Northern Asphalt LLC for the 2026 Road Improvement Program. Do we have a sponsor? Councilor Clarko, second by Councilor Cuddy.
Agreement Resolution 88. Whereas the Auburn City Council authorized Resolution 38 of 2026 awarding Northern Asphalt LLC of North Syracuse, New York, the 2026 road improvement contract in the amount of $1,587,640. And whereas New York State DOT has increased CHIPS funding to the City of Auburn by $70,710.57, and the city has not obligated a total of $655,618.30 of New York State DOT allocated CHIPS funding as presented on June 11, 2026 state-funded transportation projects of 2026. And whereas the City of Auburn Engineering Department recommends allocating $400,000 of CHIPS funding by increasing the 2026 road program contract with Northern Asphalt as change order number 1 to complete additional work on Lake Avenue between Swift Street and the South City line, complete additional street segments identified on the 2026 road improvement program's alternate street list, and offset project budget impacts due to large asphalt index increases. Whereas the City of Auburn is able to seek 100% reimbursement of the project costs for this work under the 2026-2027 New York State DOT Annual Transportation CHIPS and State Tourism Route Funding. And whereas the cost of the resolution is to be charged to the road improvement capital account number HA 51105442MN in the amount of $400,000. Now therefore be it resolved, the Auburn City Council does hereby award change order number 1, the amount of $400,000 for a revised contract total of $1,987,640 to Northern Asphalt LLC under the 2026 Road Improvement Program. Be it further resolved, the mayor is hereby authorized to execute any and all necessary agreements and reimbursement requests on behalf of the city for the project.
Very good. Do you want to provide additional background?
Sure. There was some discussion about this project a little bit earlier today. Just a little explanation on the change order. The resolution talked about Additional work on Lake Avenue between Swift Street and the South City line. We've identified additional storm work and patches required on Lake Avenue. Also completing additional street segments identified in the 2026 Road Improvement Program's alternate street list. We're looking at paving Franklin Street and potentially Nelson Street as funding allows. And then we have the asphalt index increases, which we are seeing about a $25,000 increase in the forecasted overage.
Thank you. Any additional questions for Ms. Haynes or Mr. Jensen?
Just a comment, reading it basically says the entire thing is still reimbursable through the CHIPS Act, so it's not like we're doing a change order and taking more money away from the city. It's coming out of what we could take anyways.
Correct.
Appreciate it, Mayor. Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? Mr. Jensen, it was mentioned by the city manager that the road program will start next week. I understand that that's been delayed for a variety of reasons, part of it due to a delayed state budget. We're adding alternate streets because there's additional funding there. Can you kind of give us an overview of how long that work's going to take? Is it going to be done in this construction season? Will it carry over to next construction season?
Sure. So the goal of the original road program procedure list that was presented to council back during the award of the road program, the intent is to get those streets completed this year. The alternate streets, by way of this change order that we hopefully will be able to get to, will likely be spring work, similar to what we experienced with the first phase of Lake Ave this spring. That was last year's road program pulled over. It allows us to get crews right out first thing in the spring and get to work while we're building the next year's road program. Lake Ave is what we're targeting doing first. We want to make sure that that gets 100% completed before school starts up. That is the largest road program section of street our engineering department has ever worked on. So it's going to be a challenge. We're slating about $1 million in expenditures just for Lake Ave, and it's not like North Street, which was a lot of money, but it was a quick mill and then backfill with that same amount. There's going to be drainage improvements along Lake Ave to try to enhance drainage there, additional pavement course because we're trying to preserve that roadway as long as we possibly can. With North Street, obviously we want to preserve it as long as we can, but that's a state-owned highway, and they're planning to at some point in time in my career, I hope, because I've been hearing about it since I started with the city, doing full reconstruction of North Street. So
very good. From what I've seen on Lake Ave, it looks like NICEAG has been in there doing their work. We've done some work. We're confident that everything NICEAG has to do is going to be done.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Those crews just finished up, so you should start to see work out there this week on Lake Ave.
And will it be one side and then the other side?
Yeah, very likely. They'll be doing maybe even just one lane at a time so we can pass traffic. I don't know the exact details. I didn't sit through the road program project kickoff meeting, but we can certainly provide a little bit more details as far as what their general procedure will look like. Start at the north and head south, east or westbound lane. We can provide that more detail for sure.
All right, very good. Any additional questions from the council? Thank you, sir. Please call the roll.
Councilor Diego.
Yes.
Councilor Cuddy.
Yes.
Councilor Clarko.
Aye.
Mayor Gentino.
Aye.
Carried.
Agreement Resolution Number 89 of 2026, authorizing a supplemental agreement with New York State Department of Transportation for rights-of-way acquisition and incidentals for the Aurelius Avenue Bridge Replacement Project. We have a sponsor. Councilor Clarko, second by Councilor Diego.
Agreement Resolution 89. Whereas on December 17, 2020, Auburn City Council authorized Resolution 118 of 2020 for the Aurelius Ave Bridge Replacement Project Master Agreement with New York State DOT for a total project cost of $4,246,000. whereas the replacement project for the Aurelius Ave Bridge, pin number 375688, is funded under U.S. Federal Highway Administration locally administered federal aid program that calls for the apportionment of the project cost to be borne at the ratio of 80% federal funds, 20% non-federal funds. And whereas on January 17, 2021, Auburn City Council authorized Resolution 2 of 2021 to fund right-of-way phases and acceptance of right-of-way for the Aurelius Ave Bridge Replacement Project Master Agreement with New York State DOT for a total right-of-way cost of $55,000, where the city's share of non-federal funds is 20% or $11,000 deposit. And whereas New York State DOT requires an additional $9,000 deposit to total $21,000 to fully fund all right-of-way phases at a total cost of $101,149 as shown in Supplement Agreement Number 1 with New York State DOT on Schedule A. And whereas the City of Auburn desires to advance the project by executing a state-administered right-of-way supplemental agreement number 1 with New York State DOT to acquire the necessary right-of-way property and accept by official order the real property acquired for the project. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council that the state-administered right-of-way supplemental agreement number 1 for the Aurelius Ave Bridge Replacement Project, PIN 375688, is hereby approved. Be it further resolved to authorize the City of Auburn to pay for the first instance 100% of the non-federal share in the sum of $9,000 of state-administered right-of-way incidentals and acquisition work for a total cost of $101,149 for the project or portions thereof. Be it further resolved, the right-of-way incidentals and acquisition work will be charged to the Aurelius Ave Bridge Replacement Account HA5110440KO. Be it further resolved, the city will accept from New York State DOT the real property acquired for the project. And be it further resolved that in the event of the full federal and non-federal share cost of the project exceeds the amount appropriated above, the City of Auburn City Council shall convene as soon as possible to appropriate said excess amount immediately upon notification by New York State DOT. Be it further resolved, the mayor is hereby authorized to execute all necessary agreements, certifications, reimbursement requests for federal aid and/or New York State Marchelli aid with the New York State Department of Transportation in connection with the advancement or approval of the project and providing for the administration of the project and the municipality's first instance funding of project costs and permanent funding of the local share of federal aid and state aid eligible project costs, and all project costs within appropriations therefore are not so eligible. And be it further resolved that a certified copy of the resolution be filed with New York State Commissioner of Transportation by attaching it to any necessary agreement. And be it further resolved, the resolution will take effect immediately.
Very good. Questions and discussion from the council? It's noted in the background memo that the city's 20% share will be reimbursed through New York State Marchelli Fund dollars and CHIPS reimbursement, so there'll be no cost to the general fund. Mr. Jensen, do we know when this project might get started? Not that I'm advocating for two bridge projects at once.
I don't have an exact date, but if I was a betting man, I would say sometime fall of next year, maybe getting close to having plans
Okay, very
ready
good.
to go out.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yep.
Please call the roll.
Counselor Diego.
Yes.
Counselor Cuddy.
Yes.
Counselor Clarko.
Aye.
Mayor Genatino.
Aye.
Carried.
Financial Resolution Number 90 of 2026, authorizing various operating budget amendments fiscal year 2026, 2027. Do we have a sponsor? Counselor Cuddy, second by Counselor Clarko.
Financial Resolution 90 of 2026, whereas the City of Auburn staff is requesting operating budget amendments for 2026-27 fiscal year as outlined in Attachment A, whereas the City of Auburn is in receipt of insurance funds as a reimbursement for vehicle damage, and whereas the City of Auburn is in receipt of funds related to a legal settlement related to opioid epidemic. Now therefore be it resolved, the City Council of the City of Auburn, New York, the Auburn City Council does hereby authorize the transfers in the Attachment A for the 2026-27 fiscal year, and the resolution will take effect immediately.
Questions or discussion from the council? Ms. Haynes, my understanding is that the opiate funding is from a previous settlement. This is just another disbursement of that?
That's correct. This was a settlement with Target.
All right, very good. Thank you. Please call the roll.
Counselor Diego?
Yes.
Counselor Cuddy?
Yes.
Counselor Clarko?
Aye.
Mayor Genatino?
Aye.
Carried.
Financial Resolution Number 91 of 2026, authorizing various operating budget transfers for fiscal year 2025-2026. Do we have a sponsor? Counselor Diego, second by Counselor Cuddy.
Financial Resolution 91 of 2026, whereas the City of Auburn staff is requesting various operating and non-operating budget transfers for 2025-26 fiscal year as outlined in Attachment A, and whereas government accounting best practice requires any budget overages be corrected prior to the official closing of the fiscal year. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council that the Auburn City Council does hereby authorize the transfers in Attachment A for the 2025-26 fiscal year, and the resolution will take effect immediately.
Very good. Question. Do you have any additional background that you want to provide?
Sure. Just referencing the background memo. We're bringing these budget adjustments to the council to offset any budget overages per governmental accounting standards. The recommended budget adjustments outlined in the resolution address budget overages on a cash basis of accounting for expenses that have been incurred and paid through June 30th, 2026. We will also be working through the previous fiscal year under accruals and bring forward any additional transfers needed once we've been able to capture all accruals, which are expenses incurred in the last fiscal year but paid after the end of the fiscal year. So that budget transfer will likely be in mid-September when we bring that. Just wanted to note that this budget transfer is not hitting fund balance. We're able to utilize accounts that we were able to hold during the spending freeze in order to take care of these budget overages and different account numbers.
Very good. Questions or discussion from the council? Counselor Cuddy?
So the manager mentioned that mid-September would be kind of when everything settles down. When would we be getting a report from the comptroller so we can compare last year's
Right.
budget
It should be around that time. When we bring the budget transfer, we should have a good idea of all of the expenditures. So we would bring that at the point that we have all of the bills in, bills paid, so we would be able to give you a report at that point.
Right, thank you.
Counselor Diego?
Thank you, Mayor. One question I had was, I understand we talked about this a lot the last few weeks about the bills not coming in until after the budget's passed. One of the questions I had was, I looked through the paperwork there, and on 3 different occasions it was talking about uniform allowance. When we were talking about during the budget, they said that was contractual, so I'm trying to figure out why it wasn't included in the budget. I remember asking, during the process, and they said, well, that's contractual, so we couldn't change it. So I'm trying to figure out why the money wasn't there is probably the question. Please.
So I would need to, if you have specific questions, I would need to look into each one. But what I do remember, we're doing monthly meetings with departments, which we're starting up again in a couple of weeks for the first month of the fiscal year. There were some places where people had moved between departments and their uniform allowance didn't move with them. So I think that's most likely what happened with some of those issues, is that we had some folks in the wrong pots, so to speak, and just trying to make sure that those uniform allowances follow the people to the new department they're in.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion from the council? I did have a question on the SPO usage.
Yes.
So that was more than what was budgeted. Can you just give some background on that?
Sure. So in our temporary and part-time line in the police department, that includes our SROs, parking enforcement and crossing guards. The SRO budget is difficult to anticipate, as we never know what special events we'll be asked to cover, whether it's downtown events asking for security that cannot be filled by APD or school district events through the contract. We did have a couple downtown events that used SPOs that we would have not expected at the time we budgeted. And we also, again, don't know what might be needed for the school. SRO get first rights or first dibs on the events, but sometimes are covered by SPOs. So in the same way, revenue is difficult to budget for, as we don't know which officer will bid for that shift and with the various pay rates that they have. So when we're looking at that budget, we're trying to forecast for the year, does the school district need this many SROs or SPOs for a football game? How many applications are we going to get for a downtown event that requires security? So we do our best to try to look at that, but it's hard to predict as we're looking forward for a year.
And for the school events, that's covered through the contract with the school
Correct.
district? Okay.
Mhm.
All right, very good. Any additional questions? Please call the roll.
Counselor Diego?
Yes.
Counselor Cuddy?
Yes.
Counselor Clarko?
Aye.
Mayor Genatino?
Aye.
Carried.
Agreement Resolution Number 92 of 2026, authorizing the city to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Cuyahoga County for the Casey Park Traffic Garden Project. Do we have a sponsor? Counselor Clarko, seconded by Counselor Cuddy.
Agreement Resolution 92, whereas the City of Auburn owns and operates Casey Park in the City of Auburn, including an existing paved blacktop area near the former skate park area within Casey Park. And whereas the County of Cuyahoga, acting by and through its Cuyahoga County Health Department, has secured grant funding through the New York State Department of Health's Children and Youth with Special Health Care Needs program, in collaboration with the Health Department's Kids on Wheels program, to create accessible and inclusive places for safe play and recreation and to teach children important safety techniques. And whereas the county proposes to refurbish an underused portion of pavement at the project site by installing a traffic garden consisting primarily of painted scaled roadway layout with simplified traffic features and related safety signage intended to provide a safe, car-free environment for children to learn the rules of the road during safe play. And whereas the county will fund the materials for the project through the grant and will perform the majority of the mapping, design, and painting work, and whereas the city is willing to provide limited in-kind assistance to support the project, including minor pavement patching, repatching, and assistance with line striping with paint supplied by the county, and may assist with installation of signage subject to availability of personnel and scheduling. And whereas the grant funding period ends September 30th, 2026, and the city and county desire to set forth their respective roles and responsibilities to complete the project on or before that date in a written memorandum of understanding, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein. Now therefore be it resolved, the Auburn City Council hereby authorizes the city to enter into the memorandum of understanding with the County of Cuyahoga and for the Casey Park Traffic Garden Project in substantially the form presented to the council. Be it further resolved that the mayor is hereby authorized to execute the memorandum of understanding on behalf of the city together with any and all documents necessary to carry out this resolution.
Very good. Questions and or discussion from the council? Mr. Rhodes is here if we have any questions for him. Is this similar to the one at Play Space?
Yes, exactly the same. We actually striped that for them years ago, so they just kind of want to do the same thing on that underutilized blacktop space. So.
All right, very good.
Yep.
Any additional questions? Thank you. Please call the roll.
Counselor Diego?
Yes.
Counselor Cuddy?
Yes.
Counselor Clarko?
Aye.
Mayor Genatino?
Aye.
Carried.
Other business from the council. I have a few things, council. Ms. Haynes, do we have an update on the arterial project?
Yes. I'm going to have Mr. Jensen help me with some of these answers if needed. So the bidding is finished, and Heidelberg Materials is the apparent low bidder, out of Syracuse, coming in just over $20 million. The award date is still expected by the end of July, with work beginning in August through the fall. Staff has requested to participate in the kickoff meeting and be involved in progress meetings as necessary for the duration of the project.
Yeah. I reached out to the DOT again today. The last time we spoke by email and exchanged, you know, they're still on schedule in my mind.
Okay.
for a start there and here towards.
Well, I think that it went out to
August.
bid and it's been awarded is a huge step forward.
Yeah, and they were happy with the bids too, from what
Good.
I understand, so,
Good.
got good pricing, good contractor.
Two other things, and you might as well stay here because we might have questions for you.
Yeah.
Burgess Street culvert, I noticed after heavy rain, there was some standing water
Yep.
on the west side and the south side of that culvert.
Yes.
We're gonna have the contractor come back and address that.
Yeah, we actually received photos from the property owner at that intersection, showing that standing water so that we can visualize what's going on there. We've reached out to the contractor and hope to work on a correction for that.
Very good. And then the last thing, Lake Ave Bridge, now that it's
Yes, sir.
under construction.
Yep.
Or under rehab, whatever we want to call it. I think it'd be important and very beneficial to have monthly updates. It's a
Absolutely.
large project, very expensive project.
Yep.
You know, if we could have some pictures, you know, for the first month, it didn't look like much was going on, and then I had a conversation with Mr. McIntyre, and he said, oh no, they've been working underneath, they have to build a structure underneath before they can start removing the deck.
Right.
So I don't know that, the public certainly doesn't know that.
They're
So
just
I think
driving,
monthly
yeah.
updates, make sure we're, you know, on time, under budget, all of that, so.
Yep.
We could facilitate that.
Yeah, that's no problem. We had a meeting today, construction progress meeting, outlaid that concept. I think it's a good idea. They're already supplying information that we can put onto the city website, but maybe 1 or 2 slides once a month for the first week of each month that we can pop up at the city manager's report or something along
Yeah,
those
that'd be
lines.
great.
For sure. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, of course.
And then the last thing I have is several years ago, you're good, you can sit down.
Thank you.
Several years ago, we had a moratorium on memorials and on city property. We would get requests from people often, they'd want to put in almost like headstone type memorials to people in our city parks. And it's really not what city parks are designed for. The maintenance of them becomes a liability for the city. So there's been a moratorium, and we've talked about coming up with a policy of what memorials would look like going forward. And there's seems to be general consensus among staff that it should be benches in city parks or trees in city parks. The city would come up with a list of where we need benches and trees, and we would facilitate that process with those who want to do a memorial. So I've drafted a policy that I'd like to pass out to council. If you could take some time to read it, I'll provide it to Corporation Council too. I've already sent it to Mr. Rhodes. And then at some point I'd like to formalize that. I know Mr. Rhodes is working, he's doing a list of trees and benches that are already existing in parks, and then evaluating what parks need additional trees and benches. So. Anything else from council? Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, I was speaking with the chief earlier, and I'd seen, I know this flock thing has been going on for months and months. I see Axon is the new, who they're using in Syracuse. They got rid of the flock, and they went with Axon is who they signed their contract with. I see they started taking the flock cameras down, I believe, today. Just putting it out there so that maybe we can have somebody reach out to Syracuse and ask them the differences between, you know, flock and Axon. And, you know, before we make any decision once again and get involved in something, we want to make sure it's what we want to get into. But that's that's who they're using now.
All right, very good.
Thank you.
Chief, is that something that you or somebody on command staff could do? All right, very good, thank you. And one more thing, Chief, could you get Mr. Colgrove's contact info, because he has some specific questions. I want to make sure that the city manager gets that. Thank you. I understand we have a request for executive session.
Yes, Mayor. I have 3 items, one related to the sale or lease of real property, one related to the financial history of a particular corporation, and one related to collective negotiations.
All right, very good. Do we have a sponsor for executive session? Councilor Clarko, second by Councilor Diego. Please call the roll.
Just one last announcement, a reminder, next week's the 5th Thursday of July. There is no council meeting next week. We will be reconvened 2 weeks from tonight at 5 p.m.
Good
First
catch.
week of August. Executive session for 6:11 p.m. Councilor Diego.
Yes.
Councilor Cuddy.
Yes.
Councilor Clarko.
Aye.
Mayor Geneseo.
Aye, we'll be in recess for executive session.
see you.
What's up? Things are well?